it again. What is wrong with me? Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new week. I've taken a photo of myself on Instagram instead of going live. What the hell? Discard. Let's fix that up. How are you, everybody? I did this last week at some stage. There's going to be no title. We're just going live. Oh man. Wasn't it a video I did last week? Now I'm live. Hi, Instagram. A live I was doing last week about you fearful of live video and making mistakes. Here I am again. I've done it again. Not to worry. You just roll with it, don't you? How are you? Welcome to a new week. This is my first live video of the week, and I always talk, well, usually, depending whether I'm doing a boot camp or something different, I usually like to talk about something to do with personal growth, personal development, something to make you think so you can build a better business. This is a good conversation to have at the beginning of the week so you can have a better week. Does that make sense? And today I want to talk about motivation, because a couple of people have said to me recently, oh, I'm just not motivated, and this word motivation just keeps popping up. So I've talked about this before, but we need to talk about it again, because there's something that you really need to understand about motivation. And a lot of people wait for motivation. It's just not, I'm not quite motivated. I mean, do some of you feel that? Sometimes you just don't feel motivated to do what you know you need to do. So let's have a chat about what motivation actually is and how you kind of get it, because you need it to grow your business. And in this industry, it's kind of, tough sometimes to find that motivation. And so you kind of retreat. And when you retreat, sometimes it takes double the effort to get back on board and get going again, because you've retreated too much. Can any of you relate to that? When you take a step back a little bit too much, sometimes that can make it really even harder to get motivated. So how are you all? Who's here with me live? Say hello. We've got Suzette. I've got a Facebook user. Anybody that appears like that, just go to the StreamYard link at the bottom of the description of my live and click on the link, and then I'll be able to tell who you are in future lives. Just on that, there is a deadline looming for going live in groups, and I'm talking about what all the options are going to be in my next live. So it's not tomorrow, but the next day I'll be talking about these restrictions that are coming in this month regarding going live in groups and some of the options that are going to be available. So don't miss that live. So it's not tomorrow, that's the next day. Hello, Liz. Hello, Anne. Hello, Faye. How are you guys? Faye says, I knew there was a reason I would watch tonight. There's always a reason for most things. Good, thank you. Hi, Katie, good to see you on as well. So, and Valerie, we've got here as well. So thanks for saying hi, guys. So motivation, let's just sort of check in with what it actually is. Basically, to put it in real layman's terms, motivation is essentially when you feel like doing something. You got motivation to do something. And when you don't have motivation, you just don't want to do it, do you? You just don't feel motivated to do something, so you don't do it. So motivation is really a feeling of doing something. But in Mel Robbins' words, I've shared this here in this community before, motivation is absolute garbage. And if you wait for motivation, if you keep telling yourself, I'm just not motivated at the moment, I just got to wait until I feel a little bit motivated, you're basically saying to yourself, it's never going to happen. I'm sorry, but that's the reality of what motivation actually is. Motivation, think of motivation a bit like the wind, okay? You can't see it. You can kind of feel it. You feel motivated, you can feel the wind swirling around. You know its effects when it's happening, when it's really windy and things are blowing and things are happening. You can feel its effects. You can actually feel it when you're motivated or unmotivated. So there's a lot of feelings around it, but you can never kind of see it, but you know that it's there. or it's not there. Does that make sense? So it's a bit like, stoking the fire. If you want to keep the fire going, you have to stoke the fire. You have to put the sticks on. There's certain little things that you need to do to get the fire burning. That's a little bit like motivation as well. And if you want to feel ultimately motivated, you've got to keep the fire burning somehow with the little things to keep the fire going. Otherwise, the fire goes out. Like, how many of you feel sometimes that the fire's gone out, or that it's slowly dwindling into, nothing because it's slowly dying, a slow death, because you just don't have the motivation to keep it going? So this is what you kind of need to understand about motivation. Motivation doesn't happen by itself. Motivation is made up of small little things, really, that you do, and you need to learn to understand yourself with what motivates you, because every one of you, it's going to be a little bit different. But if you wait for motivation, you're basically waiting for, well, you're basically saying it's never going to happen if you wait for motivation. Motivation comes from feelings. You might not be able to see it, but you'll be able to feel it. But if you wait to feel certain things without implementing certain actions, you're going to be waiting a long time. And some of you are waiting to get motivated, and you'll never get motivated because you're not doing the things that you know you need to do to get the motivation. It's a kind of a little bit of a vicious circle, don't you think? Like, are some of you still waiting to feel motivated to get to the gym? Or you never go to the gym because you don't feel motivated to go to the gym, or you don't feel motivated at the moment to build your business? Like, you're waiting to feel motivated. That is totally wrong, and you'll be waiting a long time. So you've really got to understand what motivation actually is and how you get it. And it's kind of like you've got to build the muscle. Like, I use this example sometimes, like with fitness. You can't actually get muscles on your body until you slowly work away at it, correct? They're not just going to grow by themselves, your muscles. You got to do the small things. Even when you don't feel like doing it, you got to do the small actions over and over again to build a bit of muscle. So you're doing the things you don't necessarily want to do, but you know you have to do it to build the muscle. And then you get a little bit of momentum because you see things working. But if you don't put the small actions in to get a little bit of a result, the momentum never builds. The motivation really never comes. So we always come back to the fact that your brain talks you out of doing things that are uncomfortable. But to motivate you to do more of things, you've got to take the actions to get the little results that'll grow the motivation. You got to stoke the fire. So in this industry, how do we do that? One thing I would highly recommend, if you're feeling demotivated, don't walk away from the fire. What do I mean by that? Get on your team calls, talk to your mentors, stay in tune with company videos and things that are happening. Stay close to the fire to feel informed and motivated. The further you walk away from that fire, your motivation goes backwards. So what do you need to do to stay close to the fire? Who do you need to talk to? What do you need to learn? How do you build those connections? Do you have a sense of community that helps you stay a little bit motivated? Get closer to the fire. Turn up on your team calls. Watch the recordings if all else fails. Don't walk away from the fire, because your motivation will get worse. And nobody is building a business successfully when you're walking away from the fire. Does that make sense? But what motivates you? You've got to know that. Why are you even doing what you're doing as a business? What's the motivation behind that? Why do we do anything? But I certainly know, like with some of you know my weight loss journey over the last year, my motivation really kicked in when I started getting some results from the hard work I was putting in. So any of you that have gone on a weight loss journey, you don't just kind of look at the healthy food and drop the calories, do you? You got to eat the right foods. You got to do a bit of exercise. You got to do all the things. You got to do all the things that you don't want to do to get some little results, to then go, oh, okay, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm moving, I'm feeling a little bit better about this. And that builds the motivation and the momentum to keep going. So then, like on the weight loss journey, when you start kind of losing the weight, it's like, oh, this is working. So my point being, it's the little things you need to do that sometimes builds your motivation. It's not waiting for, okay, I feel motivated today to build my business. I'm going to get up tomorrow and I'm going to send out 100 messages and I'm going to get on it and I'm going to do some social media posts and some reels and I'm feeling motivated now. That is fleeting. Motivation comes and goes. Motivation doesn't stay. We've all got to realize that. Sometimes you'll be really motivated to do things in your life, in your business, for your health, sport, activities, whatever it is. And sometimes you just won't. And motivation is fleeting. But if you wait for it, you're wasting time. Because motivation doesn't just come. You make motivation happen by the little things that you know you can do that you don't really want to do. Does it make sense to you what I'm sharing with you? Because the unfortunate part about motivation, and the reason why I'm having this conversation, is way too many people in this industry wait for it. Or when I feel a little bit more motivated, or when I feel like all my ducks are in a row, or when I feel a little bit better, or when I feel a little bit more energized, or when I feel when. The when never comes. You've got to make it happen by the little things that you do to think about it, like stoking the fire. Where do I need to start? Well, maybe I need to get a little bit closer to the fire. I need to show up a little bit more. I need to have conversations with my team or my mentors. I need to turn up on team calls and be part of the community and part of the environment. Start there. The further you distance yourself from the fire in this industry, the less your motivation will be. Do you get that? So think of the fire, like what motivates you, and remind yourself, why are you doing what you're doing? What does it mean to you? What's the motivating factor? If your business doesn't really mean that much to you, good luck with your motivation to build it. There's always a meaning behind it. Have a think about that. A lot of people in the industry call it, what's your why? I don't necessarily believe in that concept because that's just the way that I was trained as a mentor. Why, when kids say why, well, why? Well, why? There's this thing called a why loop. Like, yeah, it's just a word that is not a very good word in our lives. But purpose is. What's the purpose of what you're doing? Maybe you need the money. Maybe you need to support your family. Maybe you've got more bills at the end of the month than money. And this is something that you know you can do. But don't wait for the motivation to do it because it's not going to happen. You've got to make it happen. You know that, don't you? Like, we've all got to take responsibility for doing the work ourselves. But if you're one of those people that sits back and just go, oh, I'm just not motivated at the moment. Maybe next week I'll be motivated. Maybe Monday I'll be motivated. Monday is a good day to restart. Absolutely. But you've got to understand that motivation comes from being close to the fire with doing the little things that you don't necessarily know that you want to do. Okay, so work out for you, what is the little things that I know I really don't want to do, but I know I need to do to get closer to the fire. And when you start feeling more confident about things because you've had a conversation with somebody, you know that saying, a problem shared is a problem halved. Have you ever had like something going on, and as soon as you have a conversation with somebody and talk it through, it's like, oh, I feel better now. Like you've brought to reason something, or you've just had that conversation. That is something that can get you closer to the fire to help you with your motivation. If you are sitting there in your business as a lone ranger, struggling with things in your business, and you're not talking to anybody, you're not talking to a mentor, you're not talking to teammates, you're not in tune with company calls or what's going on or those kind of things. Good luck. You're just probably distancing you further and further away from having a really successful business. Do not wait for motivation. Motivation never arrives by itself. There are things that you need to push yourself to do to get closer to the fire, to then let the wind, like when the wind and the motivation, it pushes you, doesn't it? Isn't that, a nice feeling when the wind kind of pushes you along? Like now you've got the motivation, but you've got to get in there in the first place with the little things and have the conversations and, stay close to people that you can talk to. Just don't walk away. Walking away and being unmotivated and not having any conversations with anybody or not doing anything to stay close to the fire is going to bury your business. So, who do you need to talk to? What do you need to learn? What do you need to do that you don't necessarily know that you want to do, but it's a starting point? Okay? Motivation, Mel Robbins' words, not mine, is garbage. It doesn't exist on its own. You've got to make it happen, and you've got to stay closer to, in this industry particularly, you've got to stay closer to the fire to build the flame, to get the motivation and the momentum to get you where you need to go. Being a lone ranger in this industry is not going to get you there. Okay? I don't know if any of that resonates with you, but my purpose of talking about it is that if you get too caught up with your feelings, when I feel motivated, you're kidding yourself. Like you've got to push yourself to do certain things. And I know you all know that. I know you know that you need to do things that you don't need to do. You know you don't necessarily want to do, but that's where motivation starts to grow. Okay, so maybe you don't want to have a chat with somebody, but you need to, or maybe you just need to reach out and go, okay, I'm not feeling very motivated. I need some help. Can we have a chat about how I can restart or what I can do or how can I get back in the game or, take some responsibility for that. And sometimes those conversations are gold and they can just give you that little push to have a little more motivation to then take some more actions. And then as soon as you start taking more actions and they give you little wins and little results, it just grows from there. But unless you take that responsibility in the first place, if you wait for the feeling of, I'm just not motivated today, you're just going to delay your journey. Days will turn into weeks, will turn into months. Okay? Yeah, good point, Beth. A very good reminder, stay close to the fire. Okay? And awesome, Miller. I love talking to my sponsor each week. It helps to stay motivated. Okay? Getting close to the fire makes heaps of sense, Helen. Particularly, in this industry, particularly, you've got to stay close to the fire. The motivation just doesn't come out of nowhere. The motivation comes from your actions to do some little things that helps then the motivation grow. You can't just wait for motivation to show up one day and feel like, okay, I'm ready to build my business. You've got to take some little actions to build that motivation, whether it's a conversation with your mentor, your sponsor, your upline, team members, crossline, learning something new, jumping on a training, something exciting that's coming up, like stay close to the fire. Okay. So I will leave it there, food for thought to really understand what motivation is. Okay. Now just remember, not tomorrow, but the next day, I will be talking all about the options of what you guys can do about the live video situation that's being cut off on April 22nd for third-party tools with groups. Like it's a big one that we all have to navigate. Even if you don't run a group right now, if you are in any type of group, you will be on the receiving end of this from those groups that you're in. If you're in network marketing team groups and they do live streams into those groups through third-party tools, no longer. Like, what are all the options? So it's important, even if you don't run a group yourself, if you're in groups and you utilize groups in any capacity, you probably want to listen to what I'm going to share, not tomorrow, but the next day. Okay. Coaching community members, we're doing an awesome training today with my trusty co-companion here. I know she's watching live. Beth and I are doing a training on faceless reels. So we've got it done, and lots of amazing training in the last 2 weeks on practical training, which buttons to push and how to do all the fancy things with reels in the coaching community. And this week we're doing faceless reels. So don't miss that training this week, coaching community members. Okay. So thanks for being on. Awesome to have you here. And I will see you soon on the next live. Bye.